Welcome to the talk show of William Angliss Institute SLIIT. Today, my guest is Ms. Gayangi Wirasinha. She is the Managing Director of Abercrombie and Kent. Today, we are going to talk about cruise tourism, luxury tourism, and how Sri Lanka is preparing for cruise tourism and luxury tourism. Hi, Gayangi.
Hi, Kasun. Pleasure to be here with you today. Welcome to my little workplace.
Let's see how it goes. So, Gayangi, everyone will have a story to say. What is your story? I'm not asking whether it's success or normal story. What is your story?
Well, I guess Kasun, story is something, a beautiful term these days, day and age for one to use in the tourism industry. It's all about storytelling.
Exactly.
So the country represents in storytelling, and let me tell you my storytelling.
Experiences here.
Absolutely. So most of the people do ask me, okay, you are where you are, and what have you done, and how have you come to this for what you're doing right now? So my story is, I would say, people get to decide their lives in two ways most of the time. Number one is they get to choose what they want to be.
Okay.
Number two, their situations and decisions that they take puts them to a place where they have to be. So it's two things. Number one, where they want to be or where they have to be.
Okay.
So I would say my story unfolds where I have to be. I never thought that I would ended up myself or career in the tourism industry, and it wasn't planned.
That was a decision. The second part you would say.
It was a coincidence. So it was a coincidence. So it was a coincidence that one of my friends from the university had joined a travel company called United Holidays, and after 2 weeks of the company, she has got a scholarship to Japan, and she said, it looks like it's a brilliant opportunity and an area. I want you to take over my place instead of me because I cannot let down this company. So to help out my friend, I joined the industry as a Japanese expert to develop the Japanese market into Sri Lanka.
That is way back in?
That is early 2002, I believe. So almost about 19 plus years ago. So then I had no idea what history was, what tourism would sell. I understand tourism is seeing places. That's all that I knew. For the people who believe...
This is after university education?
This is after my university education. I'm mainly talking about the tourism side of it. So therefore, thereafter, I came into the industry not knowing much about what tourism is, only holding the determination that wherever I am, I have to do what I have to do right. That's all that I knew. So,
quite interesting.
That's all that I knew. So, for those who are interested to come into the tourism trade but don't know about what tourism trade is, I would say I'm joining your situation then. You are joining my situation then actually. So, therefore, don't worry, come on board, because there is a long way that one can go. But one has to have the determination to do things right, to make yourself right and do things right. So there I started the industry then, and it led me soon after the university only I joined it, and I joined to introduce the Japanese market into this company, and they said, okay, now bring the business on. Do the proposals. I'm like, what?
What proposals?
I know the language, but what do you want me to do? Say again? So I actually did not know what to do. Finally, what happened was I learned overnight, I would say the term overnight would be fine. I really thought there's something that is out there that needs my attention for me to learn very fast. Otherwise, I'm going to be out of place in this place.
Okay.
I need to learn it very fast. So the only thing as a capital that I had in my hand was the time and determination. So I was not coming from the industry, so I had the time and determination. I really studied very hard to understand how does a proposal works, who gives what to whom, to what level do we write, and to what level do we expose and not. So how do we use this into the tourism trade? So actually, I think I learned it over a very small period of time, and thereafter, maybe the company owners thought that I did a fairly okay job, and they asked me to now start traveling from the same year onwards. The following year onwards, start traveling.
This is after about 1 year of.
I would say
6
maximum 1 years or less.
Oh.
Said, okay, go to Japan, travel all around Japan and source for business. I'm like, yeah, I've been to Japan, I speak the language, now you're asking me to bring business. How does that work? So how does the marketing angle works? So then it came into, okay, I took my briefcase and my collaterals, and then I knew that I had to make appointments, because how can I pictured myself, I land in Narita airport and then do what? Okay, I may be going to the hotel. Okay, then after going to the hotel, what do? I need to go to these appointments. To go to appointments, I have to make appointments. There's no one out there to make appointments and tell you, okay, your next schedule is this, go do this, go do that. Well, probably that's my life now, mostly, but not then.
Sales calls. Yeah?
Sales calls. So I had to do that. So going from places to places, finding addresses.
Okay.
Here in Sri Lanka, I have not gone out without any vehicle or support out from one lane to another. And here, in a different country, I had to find places, go by metros, go by things, and find these places and appointments and do my pitch.
Yeah.
So when I do my pitch, nobody told me how to do the pitch. But one thing I knew, to talk to a person, first of all, talking to a person is all about communication.
Yeah.
Whatever I have to say,
Correct.
You have to want to listen to that. If I have to say something, if I go on saying that, and if I have not observed you, if you want to listen to that, I'm going to be a failure. So how do I bring yourself into my conversation, and how do we become friends before I give you my message out to you? So this was the techniques that I was doing.
Was it the language helped you or what?
Well, knowing the language a bit helped me, but this was business language.
Okay.
Say
business correspondence.
Business correspondence. If, for an example, in Sri Lanka we speak Sinhalese, but as a second language we speak English.
Yeah.
So just because we write and speak English, it doesn't mean that you can do a business proposition pitch. If you did not know your mannerism, your pauses, etiquettes, where do you start, where do you end, what do you say, and what do you not say?
Yeah.
Most importantly, what do you not say? So this, in a different language, was something new to me, but this is what I did. And then thereafter...
Was it a successful tour? The first tour?
It was. I don't know how it happened, but it was actually. It was very successful. Thereafter, I was given, because I have done French for my A-levels, I was given the French market to go out to France and then source for businesses. So there was a year that I had traveled to France at least about 14 or 15 times. Like, I had not gone to PETA.
That much.
That much. I've not been, by that time I've been to PETA like 3 or 4 times. But if you ask me the roads in Paris, I would know the roads in Paris much more than the roads in that. That is only because I did not have a driver. I did not have my own vehicle. I walked the streets with my determination and the proposition with full of contents and the technique in my hand to go for the pitch.
So now you learned your mannerism and your business correspondence in place. Is it right now in France or you are still struggling?
No. I think by the time that I went to the next year and the following year, I guess I got the hang of it.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, was I ready in tourism? I would say to all that you will never be ready. We are never ready.
Okay.
We are never ready. As much as a singer gets onto a stage, say if you take a group like BNS, even they say after performing like 20 years, coming onto a stage, you are never ready. It's your new audience, new thing, you're never ready. But you know, you have confidence in what you know. That's the only arm that you have. You have absolute confidence in what you know.
Okay. So all these years now, 2002 to 2021, you are trying to say it's all because of your determination and the decisions?
No, I would say that for anyone to be successful in something, this is a message that I would want to give. Anyone to be successful in something or whatever they do, there is something key that they have to follow, which is they have to practice, and practice.
3 times of practice.
Yes. Can I tell you an example? Take a cricketer. Take Sangakkara or Mahela. Just because they have won something and they are in full form, can they go to the next match without practice? No. Can you take people like Channa, dancing troupe? So if you take them, they practice at least 6 to 7, 8 hours a day, knowing their work very well. Still they practice. You have to practice whatever you do. You have to update yourself in the area or the field that you're working with. Updating yourself and practice is a key thing with the right focus and determination. It has to be there.
So, Gayangi, now I would like to come to the core point of this today, because I wanted to talk about the luxury tourism, because it's a good term in Sri Lanka tourism now. Everyone is talking about luxury tourism and how it's evolved and things like that. So, what I want from you, how do you explain luxury tourism?
Okay, luxury tourism. So it's 2 words, right?
Luxury and tourism.
Luxury tourism. So before going into tourism, I guess we have a fair understanding as to what tourism is. So where we are confused is with the term luxury, I feel.
Correct.
Luxury, in my view, is a subjective term.
So I have to interrupt you. In Sri Lanka, right? In Sri Lanka, in general, if you put this word luxury, people will shout at you. People will try to put you down, and it's not for us, it's for some other destination. So I want you to touch upon that also a bit, because it's little controversial at certain places. You and I know how important it is, but it's not big, it's not rocket science. I just wanted to clarify on that angle as well.
Absolutely. So as we were saying, we understand what tourism is. I believe that we understand what tourism is. So luxury is a subjective term. Subjective term in the sense, if you ask, is luxury high spenders? No. Is luxury only niche? No. Can I tell you with a very simple example why I would say that? Do you think a glass of water is luxury?
That depends.
There you go. There you go. It all depends on the place where you are. If you're in a desert, water, having the luxury of getting into a plunge pool and water is luxury. So likewise,
the other way around. If you go to a desert, if you happen to go to a desert, it's also luxury.
Absolutely. So some people say having sweet things are luxury. I mean, but if you put a lot of sugar into a cup of tea, is that luxury to you? No, it is not luxury. So in my view, luxury is a subjective term. Luxury, I feel, is what you need and what you're comfortable with to be able to have it wherever you are.
So as a destination, Sri Lanka, are we ready for a luxury tourism?
Well, we are. That's what I was trying to say. There are guests who's traveling with us. They would sometimes travel in their private jets, or they would travel very first class, and they would want to have a particular wine that they consume every day to be available during the tour. And we do not have it, but we make sure we get them down, and when they want it, that is available for them.
Okay.
When they want it, that is available for them. So there are certain people who would look for luxury. I mean, if I ask you, what is the most luxurious holiday that you would want to have? Is it in a big gold-studded bedding and whatever the thing that you would want to be? No, because it's the simplicity. What you want, where you want, and how you want. Very simple. Whatever you want, wherever you want that, and however the way that you want it. If you would like to have your cup of tea hot, and if you get a cold cup of tea, is that luxury? No. But can Sri Lanka give a hot cup of tea? Yes. If we are taught that technique of serving a person a hot cup of tea as it is, or asking what they want, and how they want, and where they want, and if we can deliver that, we do have luxury availabilities here in Sri Lanka.
In terms of amenities, what do you see? Do we have right amenities for luxury tourism?
Well, we do have. It's a yes and a no question.
Yes and a no question. Yeah.
Why I would say is we are talking about tourism. Yeah. If you only talk about luxury, it's a different matter. But luxury tourism, that means you're not catering to the local tourist market. You are catering for the world tourist market. So we need to see ourselves in the angle of where the other people's normalcy is all about. So where their normalcy is having a plunge pool in their houses is a normalcy. I mean, they have it. So if we say, I did a villa with an individual plunge pool, is that luxury for that tour traveler? No, that's like normal. But it's good. They have it at the reach. But if we have issues in Sri Lanka still, I mean, I'm sure we will overcome it in the times to come, like transportation. Do we have enough transportation that would minimize the travel time from one point to another? The key to our country is
luxury. Sorry to interrupt you. Luxury traveler would not like to travel with mass transportation mode. They want to be very private,
Absolutely, and they do not want to stay on the road for a long time.
Yes, yeah.
So for them not to spend a lot of time on the road for a long time. So that means we have to have the modes of transportation available to suit them. So I think Sri Lanka can do much more from where we are to where we can be in that segment. And if you really take...
So you want me to say the public transport, accessibility angle of it?
Not the public transport, the accessibility, the road, the infrastructure, and then the accessibility. Say we have the rail system, but do we have a luxury rail carriage in Sri Lanka? So can you travel in that train to the mountains? Now we say that we have the steam engine trains, but we cannot really take them to the mountains because to take it up there, it's a problem. So you have to use it as a diesel thing. So I mean, but if we invest in it, are people there to spend their money and use those facilities? Yes. For an example, we spoke about luxury tourism, and I did say it's not only the high spenders, it's not only the niche market. So long ago, some time ago, hotel rates, if it's a $250 hotel rate, it would be like, oh, wow. I mean, who would spend $250 for a hotel room? Right now, there are hotel rooms for $1,000 easily. And then for
those are very unknown.
Well, not a lot of people know about it, but $1,000 room nights are quite available. Correct. And then also, for my understanding, Sri Lanka's most expensive one unit cost is about $5,000 to $6,000 unit property down south.
Okay.
So if you ask me, so $5,000 to $6,000 a night, what do they eat? Golden eggs? No, it's not about that. So do people go to those properties? Absolutely. People do go to those properties, but we would ask, who are they? So there are people in this world who is able to have that disposable income to spend on it for their peace, quietness and desires to fulfill in a destination like Sri Lanka. But the fact is, do we have enough of them?
Okay. That's what. Now, as a destination management company, because you represent a destination management company, so whatever you preach, you'll have to deliver it. Can you do that in terms of luxury tourism, the brand luxury tourism concept?
Well, that's where
in Sri Lanka,
that's where the expertise of international know-how gets into play. Because the company that I work for, Abercrombie and Kent, has been there in business of luxury tourism. They introduced luxury tourism in 1962 in Kenya, Mr. Jeffrey Kent. So, therefore, thereafter, the DNA of luxury tourism is embedded into the people who work for the company. So, we see things in a different way. The same thing a local would see, we see it in a different way, and we adjust the things accordingly to suit the traveler and manage their expectations. So far, we are able to do that, and we can do that. But is it to the level that we would want to do that? Maybe there is much more room for improvement,
let's
I would say.
Authenticity. Earlier we were talking about accessibility, now we are trying to authenticate it. Authenticity.
So if you take authenticity, well, the point is, for you to do in tourism, you would have heard there is a term called round tour.
Yeah, round
so if
tour.
you have Sri Lanka, a person travel from place to place,
Yeah.
Staying 2-3 nights in one place. So if we are to put up a round tour program for a group of people to travel, ideally they should be staying in similar standards of hotels around the country. So if you ask me, do we have that circuit that would have the similar standard and similar number of keys? By keys, you understand what we mean is rooms. A similar number of rooms? Well, no.
Question mark, yeah.
Well,
That's
no.
all.
So in that case, we have to take them to the first 2 levels of hotels and then maybe heli lift them to the other location. But to heli lift them, do we have enough resources to heli lift them? We may not. So those kind of challenges actually holds us back with our growth. That has happened. If you ask me if that has happened, yes, that has happened. But as a company, we've been operating for the past 8 years, I would say. We have coming a very successful path or a journey on this with improved business and very much. We are not counting number of heads. We're really not interested in number of heads. We are really interested in the delivery of the quality to make that person.
Let's say the content of it. The
Content?
content and the core of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that has to be felt by the traveler. If the travel is not felt by the traveler, I could design a beautiful travel itinerary with what I think as nice and luxury to other person. But if that was not felt in you while you were traveling, I'm not successful. So if that was felt in you, well, I read you right.
So, what are the new avenues of luxury tourism?
Well, there are various things. I mean, luxury, as I said, is being conversant in what you are familiar with, where you want to have it and how you want to have it. I will deviate little bit like this to get into my point. Do you think an Apple iPhone is luxury anymore?
No, not anymore.
No,
Not
it's
anymore.
not. I mean, Apple iPhone
Maybe
is...
Nokia, the old phone, will be luxury.
so Apple is not luxury anymore. So for a world traveler, maybe drones are not luxury anymore. But are we able to use drones freely? Maybe we have a restrictions or things like that. So if you ask me, if we are to improve luxury tourism, what are the avenues? We can have these elements that we can plug in to the country and then have it available in the country to attract people. Sometimes serenity is luxury. unspoiled beaches.
And tranquility.
Tranquility is luxury. So in Maldives, that is most of it.
Bhutan is a luxury nation.
So how does it work? I mean, what do they have? Are they talking about the plunge pools or the flat screen TVs? That's not luxury anymore. Nothing like that is luxury anymore. So therefore, so if we have this understanding as to what luxury is, what world travelers are like, what are the living standards in different countries are like. Lifestyles. So in those living standards, if we can have those element of their living standards into us and have it authenticated with our kind of hotel accommodation, it doesn't have to be a Shangri-La or a big brand. I mean, they are big brands. They're in the world, like Four Seasons.
Correct.
They're Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
These are very big brands here. So luckily we have two or we have few there, but sometimes we can replicate it with various other things also in Sri Lanka. But if you observe, it's an evolving thing. That's why I'm saying luxury is an evolving thing. If you observe what the world is doing right now, how these travelers are spending their lives in their respective countries, what do they desire to be or do at the time of their free time when they do travel outside. So talking on that, another avenue is luxury expeditions and cruise expeditions. So cruise expeditions are for the ones who wants luxury cruises are not for everyone, but for the ones who love the ocean and who is able to travel the ocean. But if you ask me the same question about 10-15 years ago, is cruise common and can I take a cruise during my holidays? It was not as common. But right now, cruising is very common. In the world, cruising is very common. You have 3-star cruises and 4-star, 5-star, absolutely brilliant luxury, silver and gold kind of vessels and whatever the luxuries that you have there. So the same way that a normal interpreted traveler would travel in 3-star hotels and stay home stays and do their ground traveling, they do have the cruise industry catering to such different levels of cruises that is available in the world, according to your income, according to the interest that you do have, to be traveling around the world.
I need to pose this question to you. Is there a similarity between cruise tourism and marine tourism? Is the same thing?
Well, cruise tourism, what we mean by cruise tourism is mainly the passenger tourism, passenger cruise tourism. So we do have vessels. This entire world has so many vessels taking cargo. So that is cruises, cargo cruises also. So we are talking here about the passenger cruises. So passenger cruises are, as I said, it all depends on the size of the boat and then what kind of clientele that they are trying to cater. So if I would say cruises are floating resorts.
Okay.
Cruises are floating resorts. So when you say a resort, can a resort be 3-star? Yes.
Yeah.
You can have a 3-star resort. And you can have an absolutely luxurious resorts of 5-star, 6-star, 7-star resort as well. So these are similarly the same, but the difference is they're floating.
Okay.
So they're floating resorts. So cruises can be as small as 100 passenger cruises as opposed to about 5,000 to 6,000 passenger cruises. So having 5,000 to 6,000 passengers in a particular resort, can you imagine what size of a resort it should be?
Of course, it's a normal resort which is on the land.
So it's a massive, it has to be massive. If it's 5,000 passengers, it has to be massive. So if this 5,000 passenger vessel is floating from one point to another, so that is where most of the people do their cruise tourism. The good part about the cruise tourism, why people are interested about the cruise tourism is, they are not traveling in a particular country for a long time, mostly.
Yeah.
There are otherwise. So they would go to a particular destination and explore the possibilities of the destinations for them to come back for their proper holiday next. So they would explore India, they would explore Sri Lanka, they would explore Dubai, they would explore Singapore, and they would have ticked a lot of bucket list places that they would have wanted to go, and then finally decide where they really want to unwind and relax during their actual holiday they are to do. So a lot of people right now, so they are mainly operated by about 5 to 6 major large companies who's owning various amount of vessels, and otherwise about 15 to 20 other small companies who are very rich in their contents with the products that they have, and absolutely having very interesting vessels for the luxury tourism. Yes.
So, meaning in tourism, we have a 5 A's concept like accessibility, accommodation, amenity, authenticity, and also attraction. Everything in that vessel. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes. In cruises, it's not always only about the vessel.
Yeah.
It's in passenger cruise tourism, as much as it is the vessel. The second most important thing is that it's called itinerary planning. So in cruise companies, the itinerary executives or itinerary managers, itinerary head of itineraries are the key people who decides, okay, this vessel is going to this country and this country and this country because they have such an attractive itinerary and attractive excursions for our passengers to do at a very dynamic rates.
So, meaning once they are embarked in the port, then they go to the destination. That's what you're trying to say.
No, before they decide on a destination, they decide on a destination depending on the itineraries that is available.
Okay. So now, in terms of Sri Lanka now, so do we do this luxury tourism, or can we do that, or are we doing it, or where are we now?
You mean luxury cruise tourism?
Cruise tourism. Cruise tourism.
Well, we do have actually, in the sense we have so far, well, in a macro picture, from the decision makers, maybe we can have more attention to this side of the business to grow the business, because it is a captive audience at your shore that you need to bring all of them out and make them spend.
Yeah.
As a simple thing as that for the decision, makers in the industry. But if you ask me the question, do we have luxury cruises calling into Sri Lanka? Yes, we do have. So we do have luxury cruises for calling into Sri Lanka.
Roughly about yearly, how many passengers?
I would be able to tell you within the past, not 2020, but before we would have average about 60 to 68 vessels, passenger vessels, calling at ideally 4 to 5 ports of Sri Lanka: Colombo, Galle, Hambantota, Trincomalee, and
is it Oluville or Jaffna?
mainly these four. Mainly the four. Colombo, Hambantota, Galle, and Trincomalee.
Roughly about how many passengers? Roughly about, not exact figure. Roughly.
If you will have to do the maths. If you multiply 65 cruise vessels, average into about 500-600 passengers. Say if you do at least 1,000 passengers, if you do 6,000 into 65 is about 65,000, 70,000
per annum.
But you need to remember, this is only most of the time half of the guests who are on board.
Okay.
We have to do much more things and have more facilities available for the entire or most of the passengers who's on board to make them to come out to the destination and make them spend on the destination, and then destination would flourish and we can have more interesting things to offer for them.
So it goes back to our previous question, it has to be luxury. Yeah.
It has to be convenient, comfortable, value for money, and that is the key to bring the people to spend in Sri Lanka.
So Gayangi, now I'm coming back to you, right? This is all about the tourism and your job and what you like and things like that. I'm coming to you. Well, how do you spend your leisure time?
Well, that's an interesting question as well. If you the interest, why I say it interesting is we are in the holiday making industry. So for our job, we are busy planning and making holidays for everyone else. So during my leisure time,
Selling dreams.
selling dreams. So during my dreams, that could be a reality,
Yeah.
not
Correct.
kept as a dream. So during my holiday, I would really like to mainly be creative. It is now in me. Be creative and be dynamic in my creative thinking. It makes me, brings me great pleasure to create new products, and then to have them available, and that would really help me with the business that I'm doing. But other to that, as a hobby, I would really like to, you would find it strange, I would like to do meditation as well.
No, it's not.
So,
it's again luxury. Nowadays.
It is luxury for me because with the little time that I have.
No, even
and
in the world now, people are talking about going for meditation, spirituality. It's kind of luxury component.
Absolutely. So being in the moment is not as easy as people think it is.
Yeah.
But if you develop the art of it as a hobby, you can be successful in what you're doing as well. But talking about the subject of hobby, can I add something like this, Kasul? Most of the people who are in Sri Lanka or like the youngsters get this point wrong most of the time. They think work and hobby should be the same.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, please make sure that your work is something that you do to earn your money to pay the bills. And hobby is something that you do to be relaxed and be happy and then to be yourself. But if you have both at the same time, if your work is the hobby that you like to do, that is a rare moment. Embrace it. Not everyone gets it.
Yeah.
So if you tell yourself, I like to do singing, it can be singing for your own pleasure. But if you try to make your singing your job, you have to understand, can I make money out of it? If I cannot make money out of the hobby that I know to do, please don't go there. Please don't even come to tourism if tourism
It's not for making money.
So so make sure that your hobby is separate and your job is separate. But if you have both in same, two in one, that's a rare moment. Just grab and embrace
Are
it.
you trying to say you have both in one?
Well, now the lifestyle has been that,
Yeah.
but it's a yes and a no question.
So, Gayangi, you are not a stranger to William Angliss Institute SLIIT. We have come to our 5th anniversary. Also, you have come to the campus multiple occasions. What is your impression towards the institute?
I guess I find William Angliss an institution that strives for quality rather to quantity in bringing just people out graduated into the market. But at the same time, I feel you are trying to do, and I would like to emphasize this for you to do more, as in the institute, as much as Abercrombie and Kent is a global brand that we have locally in Sri Lanka, the same way you are an Australian brand that you are residing in Sri Lanka. So I would like your products, who are the students, to be truly Sri Lankan and understand the tourism market in Sri Lanka practically, not through books only, practically, and embed the foreign international exposure that they have through William Angliss, and then to bring the standards and quality into that. So that makes your institute undoubtedly unparalleled to anyone else out there. So that is a good thing that you have, a good advantage that you have.
Thank you, Gayangi. So we are honored to have you.
Thank you.
Finally, Gayangi, what is your message to the industry? But we are at a very difficult time and we have to be focused what we are going to do, and we don't know what will be the next step. And what is your message to the industry?
When I say the industry, Kasun, as I would take a cue from what I just said earlier, we need to understand industry is not it's not a term for philanthropy. We do understand what a philanthropy is and industry. So industry is a business. So business, it's a win-win business. If you don't make money and if you don't keep your guests happy, you're a failure. So you need to make money. For you to be successful, you need to make sure constantly you're up there, updated, to make your guests satisfied and manage the expectation to the going forward. So my point is here is this industry still has hope. Why? Because you are catering, so let me put it in a simple way. Humans servicing humans.
Humans servicing humans.
We are people. We are in the people's businesses. So people servicing other people. So as long as there are people who is in the tourism industry, and as long as there are other people, the human nature is I work and I want to be at ease. I work and I want to be at ease. As much as that happens, they want to come on expeditions to various countries, and that will inevitably happen in the future. It will happen. Even right now, people want to come, but they are restricted not to come. But they want to come. So this is a very old industry in the world. So this will never die off. But you will die off if you are not up to date, if you have not read your audience very well, if you are reading the book that you've been reading for the past 10 years or 20 years, you will become a failure. So keep yourself updated. Please understand what the audience is all about and what do they want. You need to give what they want rather than what you want. So that's something, if I am to give an example using local culture, if you stay in front of a temple with flowers, would they sell easily? Yes. Going to the temple, flowers is needed and I would buy the flowers. Yeah. But if you say in front of a temple and try to sell iPhones, what would happen? The captive audience, you have a captive audience and you are offering them something that they are not looking for at that moment. So you need to make sure that you read your guests. You read your guests very well. When I say guest, anyone can be a guest, but a North American guest, to a Middle East, to a European, to an Asian, to Australian, their cultures are different and their needs are different. So you need to understand, read them very well and flash with things that would entice them. So you would have people attracted and they would come running to you and they would pay the price. Trust me, they would pay the price for what you have to offer.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was a very interesting topic we were talking about. We were talking about luxury tourism, cruise tourism, how Sri Lanka will look at the next level of tourism. It was fascinating point. We had Gayangi Wirasinha. She was absolutely stunning and the content also stunning. Thank you very much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe and put the bell marking. Thank you.